Hello and welcome to the Madison Mortgage Podcast, or just the Madison Podcast. I am your host, as per usual, 99.99999% of the time, Ben Lavender, New York's favorite British mortgage broker, whether you like it or not. Today we have another very special guest and someone I've known for quite a long time, Miss Ramona. Actually, introduce yourself, please, Ramona. Tell the people who you are, what you do, and why you are the bomb.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me on your show.
For shizzle.
And my name is Ramona Vicenty. I am a real estate agent at the Corcoran Group, and I specialize in residential and some commercial real estate in New York City and also Westchester County.
Gangster.
I try.
Yeah. What do you prefer, by the way, residential or commercial?
I definitely prefer residential. I love dealing with buyers and just kind of like showing homes, and I've been fortunate to show a lot of historic homes, architecturally dynamic homes, starter homes, first-time home buyers, and also experienced investors. So I feel really lucky to be in that kind of space in the residential arena.
Yeah, well, what kind of historic homes have you shown? Because that's got to be really cool. I mean, I don't see much myself. Well,
recently,
I'm at a desk all day, so it's
no, it's okay. Recently, like New York's, the great thing about New York State, it has so much history, so much rich architecture, so many stories behind the homes in a county. It just talks about history on its own. So I just actually closed on property with my buyers up in Katona in Westchester County, in which the house was in the early 1900s, and it had some history. It wasn't registered as a historic home, but the features of the home were historic, and so it was just beautiful to see.
Like it's those unique. It's got some character.
Lots of character, high ceilings, lots of little nooks in the house, special little nooks that make it interesting.
I love that stuff. Yeah, because it does give the house character.
I love it. Like there's like a back staircase, and there's a center staircase, and there's like a little room
Secret
where
passageway.
Exactly. And like you can come through on the upstairs. There was like one room you can cut across into to go to the downstairs, which seemed like kind of a secret room. And I thought that was kind of exciting. So those kind of things are fun to see. And you see your buyers' faces and they're excited about the property. And they're like, wow, this seems so unique. But I mean, I think anyone trying to get a home to me is exciting. And I love being on that journey with them and helping them out.
It's fulfilling.
Yeah,
right. Whereas
it
like
is.
Commercial, I imagine, is more of like it's just a financial transaction, really, to the person. It's
right.
not a fulfilling thing.
Well, in the commercial space, I don't like to be in an arena that I'm not well versed in. I have some experience, but what's exciting is because the buildings are going to be something monumental, or they're going to be a new development, because I've done new development also. It's so you're like, oh, I wonder what they're going to turn the building into. So being part of that process from the ground up is also exciting. But I love the one-on-one interaction with my clients.
How fulfilling!
Yeah, it's fun.
It should be your mission statement.
Which is
Enjoying
Ramona.
Ramona.
Well,
One with clientele.
Well, my tagline is Ramona Vicenty, Dream Homemaker.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it is. I try to be a dream homemaker.
Ramona, how long have you been in the business for?
I have been in the business, I would say, close to 7 years. Ooh. I had a long career in the fashion industry for
tell us
over
about that.
22 years.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I went to FIT, so my whole background had been in the fashion business, in accessories and jewelry and designing.
Drop your fashion Insta.
Oh, my fashion Insta is Pretty in Size on Instagram, so come check me out if you want to know any kind of like really fun fashionable outfits, lifestyle, Latina. There you go. And also for curvier women, you can look good whether you're a size 0 or a size 20. I got it for you.
Awesome. Love it. So how did you get into fashion, or why did you want to go into fashion to begin with? And like walk us through that, and how did you get from there to real estate?
So I grew up in a household. My mother always made my clothes growing up.
Really?
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah, she learned a lot of those skills when growing up in Puerto Rico, and so
Did you grow up in Puerto Rico?
No, I grew up in the Bronx, South Bronx, and my godmother was first pattern maker and first sample maker on 7th Avenue when they used to have a lot of fashion shows and fittings in the showrooms, and so I got a lot of influence from my godmother and also my mom, and I had like a Singer sewing machine when I was like 6 years old. It was like hot pink and it was so cute. But I had my first sewing machine at like 6 years old.
It wasn't child labor. You wanted.
No,
to
it
do
wasn't
that.
child labor. I mean, they weren't into that then. But it was more like the influence of being able to create something. And I think that's also, I love real estate as well, is seeing the architecture, seeing just the design choices in the homes. I guess it all correlates down the road. Who knew that this career would put me into a second career in real estate?
Yeah. So back to that. I mean, what did you do in fashion? Well, who for? I don't know if you're allowed to name drop companies or anything.
No, I mean, what I did, I worked as a multi-line showroom in which I represented a lot of emerging designers in accessories and handbags and jewelry. Okay. And so we would do a lot of the high-end trade shows like Fashion Coterie and things like that, in which the designers were able to meet and do showcase their designs for that season to big buyers, Bloomingdale's, stores like that, and along with like high-end boutiques that are in different towns all over the country. So that was really fulfilling for me, but I took a break, and I also did some product development for more private label companies as well, which taught me more about the back story of manufacturing and putting together a whole collection for that retailer. So I'm really grateful.
It sounds really fun.
It actually was really fun. I mean, I still love the fashion industry, obviously, but I felt like I needed some kind of change. The industry was changing a lot, and it wasn't feeling as inspiring at that time. Gotcha. And so I took a small break, and then also during
what year was this?
I would say 2013. Gotcha. I kind of like stepped out a little bit and took a break. I needed a break. I worked 24/7. Yeah. I mean, and I had a lot of business trips. So I felt like I was missing out on home time a little bit and a little me time to kind of regroup myself. I was always on the go. Got Not saying it's any different from real estate, but yeah. it was just more.
I'm picturing a very, like, I don't have much of a reference for fashion, but like a Devil Wears Prada, like nonstop on the phone.
Yes.
Be reactive.
Yes, you know? Especially when you're in sales. I mean, you know, you always have to anticipate what the buyers want, kind of put it together, make it work for the season, and also price point, right? Making sure those retailers check out.
True. And how did you transition from that to real estate?
So during the time...
And why did you even think real estate? Like, why not something else?
Well, I had friends that were in the real estate industry, and a few friends of mine that are from the Bronx as well, and they always said, hey, you know, you should try it out. And I was like, well, I don't know. I just kind of like need to kind of get my head together and take a small break because I had just been working so much that I needed a little downtime. So during that time, I had a friend that was looking for a house, and I had been lightly searching, not really searching, but lightly searching. And I was finding houses for her that her real estate agent wasn't finding. And she was like, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? And then kind of like I came to an epiphany. What's wrong with trying it out? It's not going to hurt. It's another license, another thing under my belt. So I went to real estate school. And I knew that I wanted to be with a company that had a great reputation. I also knew that New York City is very rental heavy. So I wanted to always be in the mix of making sure I had that balance of rental and also the balance of sales and learning from the best company. So at that time, I had joined City Habitats.
I remember.
Yes, City Habitats in Manhattan. And we were also under NRT, which was part of Corcoran. So eventually they merged, and so, you know, I went from City Habitats to Corcoran, and here I am today still with Corcoran.
Yeah, and I know you love it because you tell me all the time.
I do love it. Yeah. I like what they bring us. I love the energy of the company. I love the branding. I love the support I get from my managers, and kind of like it's surprising, although I do, you know, New York City and I do Westchester, but it's very surprising how many people that are outside in the outer boroughs, I get so many referrals for the Bronx, which is my hometown. And so, like, even from Manhattanites, like, you would think that, oh, they, you know, they're not interested on you know, exploring the other boroughs. But, you know, the Bronx has been getting so much attention, and it's just such a growing borough.
Why do you think that is?
I just think that, there's a lot of deals still considering all the other boroughs. I mean, Queens, we know, is a very high price. Brooklyn has a kind of like its own life.
Yeah.
But I think that the Bronx, to some degree, people kind of undervalued it. Sorry, no. Undervalued the Bronx. And so, like, I grew up in the South Bronx, which has become, as everyone knows, Sobro, Piano District. I don't know how many monikers they're going to put on the neighborhood,
as many as they can.
As many as they can, exactly. And so to see that explode the way it has, kind of like, and they like to compare it to Williamsburg, but Williamsburg is Williamsburg. The South Bronx has its own vibe.
Yeah.
So
it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not. I mean, once you step into Alexander Avenue and seeing all the vibrant restaurants and like the culture of the people, you're like, okay, this is not Williamsburg.
Yeah, I don't think it will get to that level ever, candidly, but I think it will, they're trying to create something similar, and that's why we've seen values go up so much, over the past, 3-4 years?
Yeah, for sure. I had a new development there with an associate, and we rented it out completely, and we're renting one bedrooms at $2,800. Yeah, I mean, but it shows the value of people want to be in the neighborhood. Yeah. They want to be close to Manhattan. I mean, you get the view from the bridge, which is pretty cool.
I was going to say, and this is like a luxury building, I imagine.
Yes, it's a boutique building, and it has a gym, bike room, laundry in every unit, which is a luxury, really, in New York City.
And a flex, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go down the stairs to go out the building to do laundry all the time, which is a common New York thing, but to have it in, especially after we just came out of the pandemic, to have that luxury of it right there, I mean, I'd wash clothes all day.
Why not? Especially if it's convenient.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so $2,800 for a one bed, whereas like somewhere in Williamsburg, I think it's like $4,000 to $4,500 these days for like a similar type of building. So it's not on that level, but still like one beds in the Bronx a few years, again, not luxury, but like, something average was what, like $1,300?
But the finishes were all kind of luxury level. So if you look at that, you are getting more of a great deal, even in Mott Haven.
Well, there's obviously a market for it.
Absolutely. I mean, you have all the big developers there, like Brookfield just has new buildings there called Bankside. You have a beautiful condo building that 2 bedrooms are almost $1 million now. So there's value. There is tons of value. Yeah.
Okay. I think buying opportunities.
Buying opportunities, yeah. I mean, if that's your vibe, if you want to be in that kind of growing neighborhood, whether you still have brownstones and you still have a mix of brownstones.
Those brownstones are absolutely gorgeous.
Yes. I mean, apples to oranges to Brooklyn, but the Bronx brownstones have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
A lot to offer. Yeah. Charming little neighborhood. So that's just one aspect of it. One aspect of the neighborhood.
And there are many more.
Absolutely. But I do a lot in Westchester County, which I love. First-time home buyers and all over Lower Westchester, which has also been new for me as well. So
let's switch gears. What do you, and this is going to be a hard question to answer, Ramona.
Okay.
What do you hate about the business or dislike? Because people come on here, even I'm guilty of this myself, like talking about a lot of the positives, everything's so easy, we're doing so much business, yada yada, and we know it's a stressful business.
I mean, it's a very stressful business. It's just different from my past career, because I used to deal with business to business, and this business you're dealing straight to the consumer, straight to like the client. So I think the hard part of that is just trying to get them to understand that you're doing 300% of the job to make sure that they get the house or the property they want, and they think that you're doing nothing. And it's, I think it's my job to make you feel like, it's easy. But behind the scenes, it's like that duck on the water.
They don't realize how much work actually goes behind.
Yeah. It's like that duck on the water. He looks cool on the top, but then his little legs are running underneath the water. And that's what we do as agents. Like, we're trying to make sure that we piece the deal. We need to be creative. We need to think outside the box a little bit. Negotiations. I mean, they don't realize sometimes how tough the negotiations can be. So I just think it's the realization that I work for you, whether it's on the buyer or the seller side, on the seller side, and make sure that I'm getting you the best price, even though you told me you wanted like $1 million more on your property, even though it doesn't match up. That's the hard part of trying to get sellers to be realistic. And I think on the buyer side is trying to empathize a little bit with them, but let them be realistic with their goals and how we can achieve them. So it's a balance of trying to manage both sides without losing your mind and staying cool.
Yeah, I think staying cool is absolutely key. And I've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's, as the professional, we have to be the leader in the transaction. And like, you know, when I first speak to clients, the first thing that I do is give them a very polite and gentle reality check. And, you know, it's like real estate in New York can be complicated. Well, is it possible that your transaction is going to be perfectly smooth from start to finish? Sure, but roadblocks are definitely going to come up. There's going to be some drama with a seller or an attorney or whatever the case may be. And just know, like, these things are perfectly normal. And I find just addressing that with them up front makes it so much like the process itself, and adjust their expectations where it becomes smoother. They're like, okay, Ben told me like this is probably going to happen. So it's like, instead of them freaking out, they're like, okay, cool, what do we do? Boom.
Yeah, I had a situation in which I had a friend of mine had the buyer, and I represented the seller, but it was an estate sale. And it was very difficult dealing with the family. And that's part of like your job of like, if you take on a listing that has an estate, that's an estate, and or something's going on with the family, is having that balance of being empathetic again, but also like a reality check. So we did the walkthrough at the end. So we were going to close. They were very happy because their mother was actually in a nursing home. I actually did a closing in a nursing home, which was a first for me. But excuse me. But like, we did the walkthrough, and like it was 3 siblings. And there was one sibling that had a difficult time kind of letting go of the fact that this was his childhood home. Fast forward, during the walkthrough, it's supposed to be empty and broom swept. And we went to one of the rooms upstairs, and that brother was in his underwear on the floor with a TV on the floor and a blanket. Wow. To say it was a little freaky, I was scared. I was like, okay, so how do you come? And the buyer the buyer was a seasoned investor. He was shaken, visibly shaken, and he was like, "What's going on here?" And it was just a weird situation. Like, it
did
almost.
Did he not know that he was closing that day?
He did know.
Okay.
He did know, and he had a TV in his underwear with like a blanket.
No furniture.
No furniture.
Jesus.
It is underwear.
So what did he do?
So I was like, you have to leave. Like, I'm sorry, you have to leave. And he was like, I'm going to leave. I mean, we had to calm the buyer down. He literally almost walked away from the deal. Yeah. And we were like, he's going to be out the house. Don't worry about it. But it was kind of scary.
Did he have somewhere to go, or was he being
difficult? He had somewhere to go. It was just like he was hanging on for dear life with this property because it was where he grew up. And his brother was like, you got to go. Let's go.
How old was he?
He was like 40.
Oh, my God. I was picturing, like, I don't know, like a kid in his early 20s or something.
No, he was like a 40-year-old, like with his blanket and his underwear with a TV on the floor, like the morning of the walkthrough and the closing. And it was strange and heartbreaking, but needless to say, we closed.
Yeah.
We calmed everyone down, and the buyer, as soon as we closed, went and changed the lock, and then the family called the police on me. And it was the same 40-year-old that was with his blanket and his underwear. Post-closing said, we can't get back in. Well, I needed to pick something up. And I was like, you call the police? The police called me? I was like, what? Oh, my God. So I would say that was one of the strangest experiences I had in real estate. But like, this was, I think, last year.
Wow.
And I think
it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
It's a weird one. Yeah. It's a weird one. And so I don't know. Going back to the subject of like it's not an easy job, like these are sometimes the strange, it doesn't happen all the time, but these are some of the strange things that can happen. Is how you deal with it and how you work under pressure that really gets you through to the end. This job is not for the faint of heart. It looks glamorous on the outside. You think, oh, you're closing, but it takes, if it was that easy, everyone would be a real estate agent.
And we were talking about that like before we started recording, that, you know, on social media, for instance, it always looks like I'm working, right?
Yes.
And you don't see what's going on unless, you know, people post it, but you don't see what's really going on in our personal lives. If, you know, we're out on vacation, sometimes we post it, sometimes we don't. You're saying like it seems like I'm always working. That's by design, right? I want to always appear to be available. And the truth is I am. I'm always responsive, but it doesn't mean we don't take time off and we don't enjoy ourselves.
Exactly.
We also have to recharge, right? In order to serve our clients the best way possible, we can't just work 24/7. And, you know, that's why we have a team, and you've got your own team and stuff going on. It's the only way to work efficiently or even last long term in this business.
Exactly. I mean, you can burn out really fast. I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah.
You can burn out really fast because there's so much coming at you. And the thing is you have many spinning plates, as they say. You have your clients, you have, you know, trying to get new clients, you have things you have on the market, trying to resolve. You know, you're kind of like putting out fires at the same time, making sure things are smooth. So like that kind of constantly on the go can really burn you out. So I definitely think a little R&R.
It's normal.
It's normal.
It's impossible to go full steam all the time. I mean, I definitely have experienced it many times throughout my career, and it's just, you know, there's a point, I think, early in your career, you do have to go a little bit crazy if you want to go far and if you want to go quickly. But after a while, you should have some type of system developed where you are able to, you know, plan your day so you can generate business, work on your deals, and still have a life and the ability to recharge. And it's not easy to do.
No, I mean, that's why you're such a rock star. Honestly, you guys are stellar. Always closing deals is because you have a great system and because of your professionalism, which I have to say is always great.
Thank you so much.
But, you know, you do have to have systems in order to, you have to, like, I've been trying to work more on my business instead of just in my business, because you get blinders on if you're just constantly on the go and not take an overall picture of the business in order to know how to grow, how to spend your dollars, how to figure out who you are as an agent, and also your branding, so people realize that you are
we deep down inside.
I mean, I just want you to like me. No, but in all seriousness, like, my goal is to make sure my clients know that I work for them, whether it's seller, buyer, investor, and so they know, or renter even, you know, just so they know that I'm always on and I'm always there for them. Sometimes that can be hard, but you have to work on the business in order to grow in anything you do, because then you don't know what you're doing. You're spinning your wheels all the time.
Very true. We're kind of getting to that point where we're wrapping up, Ramona. I do want to hear some advice that you have for buyers and or sellers, you know, with, you know, how the market is shifting. What are your thoughts? What are you telling people these days, and just general market predictions?
I think that buyers need to kind of like settle down a little bit. I think they're getting riled up by all the media and all the things and sound bites that are coming at them, and they're not, you know, they should be asking their professionals that they work with, like, what does this really mean? Because I think that they take it in and then they start to panic and think, I'm going to wait to buy something. Okay, so the interest rate is going up. That's a normal thing. I think coming out of where we were at a lower interest rate, lowest in history. Okay, all right, so you didn't buy at that time because prices were high. It all evens out at the end. But what's not going to stop is that the prices is going to still rise. So, yeah, maybe your interest rate's at going 6.8. I don't know what it is at your area.
It varies depending on the loan program.
Absolutely.
Some are still in the 5s, but a lot of them are in the 6s, some even in the low 7s.
There you go. So it all depends on that particular buyer. I'm saying don't be frightened by that if it's something that you really want, let's work on it together to get you a house And let's adjust maybe the goals. Like if you wanted a house that was at 800,000, okay, maybe we need to adjust and see what's out there at 700,000, or maybe 680 if we can do it, depending on what your wish list is. And I think that we need to be realistic about it, because prices always go up and rents always go up. So when is the right time?
Yeah, the last time was 20 years ago.
Exactly. And even 20 years ago, it was 11%.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't know that, because we have a lot of millennials that are buying with buying power, and they don't realize that 20 years ago.
And rates have been artificially low over the past 10 years or so due to quantitative easing, which is basically the government buying mortgage-backed securities, which then lowers the rates, and that's basically been done with recently. Yeah. So, unless they start buying again, it's going to be very, very unlikely that happens. So I think it's also healthy that rates go up as well, even if it causes home prices to stagnate or dip temporarily. There has to be a balance, and it's normal for things to go up and down. But I forget what the saying is, but when everyone else is greedy, you want to be a little bit more conservative, and when everyone else is conservative,
that's right,
you want to be greedy and jump in, because that's typically the best time to buy.
Just adjusting the goals.
Yeah.
Adjusting the goals. But I just think that if it's something you want, you should talk to your real estate professional, see what kind of plan you can put into action, and get the house you want. On the seller side, I think sellers need to realize this is not 2021.
No.
And that
reality check.
Exactly. And that things are stabilizing, like you said, and normalizing, and be realistic on the pricing. Because if you really want to sell, you want the buyer to be attracted to your property and not feel like all these crazy conditions that we had a year ago, even just earlier this year in January, are no longer really into play. Yeah, and let's get these deals done. Let's get these deals done. And remember, there's still not a lot of inventory on the market. So it's also going to keep it a little bit higher. But if you want the house, let's try to work on it. That's what I say.
I like it. Ramona Vicenty, thank you for coming on. Before we bow out, where and how do people reach you if they want
you guys, on my Instagram is Ramona Vicenty Inc. You can reach me at rvicenty@corcoran.com. And I will reach right back out to you.
Love it. All right. Thank you again.
Thanks.
Peace out.